Hey, it's me, Mitch. Good evening, everybody. Live from the Hurricane Bullseye itself. And yes, they readjusted the track. It's now aimed directly at my house. I stood outside all day, waving, over here, come on. I think it saw me. So I said to myself, Mitch, and I said, what? I said, do you really want to do a live stream again tonight? Jesus, you just did one of those things last night. And I said, well, what else have we got to do? We've been sitting most of the day watching the scary hurricane news. Just getting more and more nervous, more and more concerned, more and more puzzled as to what to do. When it's hitting everything 100 miles or 200 miles around you, they tell you to evacuate, you say. And then they tell you to evacuate, and they say, but there's no need to go far from home. You can just go 10 miles. And obviously they're talking to people who are subject to storm surge and flooding, not me, because any 10 miles that I might go in any direction would only take me 10 miles further away from my home and not improve my conditions, weather conditions, not the tiniest little bit. So I said, nah, I think I've had enough of that today. Can only watch the same thing so many times. Next update, it's right about now. I'll watch it after the stream is done. We got another one at 11, every 3 hours. And I think every 6 hours they make a change to the track. And the last change they made at 5 p.m. brought it a little south. And if any of you have actually seen the actual track of this thing as it's going through the Gulf, it's going like this. It's not going in a nice straight line like they draw. And there's still just as much chance that it's going to hit the bottom side of that cone or the top side of the cone. In fact, I think there's more chance that it won't stay in the center. And we've been faked out by that stupid cone so many times, and that's why a lot of people get complacent. I know. I live in a manufactured home community. And you hear on all the weather reports, mandatory evacuation for everybody living in a mobile or a manufactured home. And we had a storm here a few years ago where regular homes blew away, and my poor, lowly little manufactured home didn't have a scratch on it. So you can't tell. You can't tell. So I'm watching this thing carefully. I've already made the decision. So for those of you that are really worried about me, with visions of the Wizard of Oz, where Dorothy is spinning up in her little house and the witch is riding around on the bicycle in the tornado, it's not going to happen to me. I'm going to my son's house, and his house is a real house, and it's all brick over frame. It's very substantial. It's withstood tons of these storms. And we'll probably barbecue, and we'll probably out on the back porch. He's got a covered porch, and we'll probably smoke cigars, and I will probably jump online either with a video or maybe even do a live stream and let you know how it's going. Don't expect much. I won't have all of this, because I'm not taking all of this with me. I'm taking the box, though. Taking the actual computer itself with me, just for safekeeping. In fact, I'm taking all my hard drives, all my computers, all my notebooks, all my cameras. I'll be ready for a road show. So we'll see what happens. So if a video pops up and it doesn't have a familiar looking thumbnail on it or something like that, it's going to be the header more than likely to my YouTube channel. And I'm going, as soon as this stream is over, I'm going to redo that and throw because my picture isn't on it. I'm going to put my picture on it so you'll know who it is. Anyway, wow. To coin one of my favorite all-time comedians, Rodney Dangerfield. What a crowd, what a crowd. Look at this. The hell did all you people come from? This early in the stream, 125 people. Fabulous, fabulous. Good to see you. Good to see you all. I think you're just tuning in to see what this crazy coot is going to do. And if I'm at my son's house on Thursday, and it just so happens that the eye of the hurricane does go right over our head, and I've been in those situations before, I will film it and post it for you guys. It's the wildest thing you've ever experienced. If the eye is 5 or 10 miles wide, you get tremendous wind, and all of a sudden everything goes calm. All the clouds clear up, and you look up and you see a clear blue sky, and you say, "What storm?" And then a few minutes later, 10 or 15 minutes later, it comes up and smacks you from behind with wind going in the opposite direction. But it is a cool thing to experience. The last one of them that I experienced was Hurricane Charlie in 2004. The eye came over at night, but I did get out, and it was dead calm, and I could see the stars in the sky, and it was eerie. It was just eerie, and it lasted about 15 minutes. So that'll be cool. But I honestly don't think that center line of that cone is really a prediction at all. It's what they call a consensus. And if you've seen the hundreds of different models they have and how wildly different they all are, it's because there's so many variables, any one of which could change the overall trajectory and speed and everything else. So we'll see. We'll see. It's kind of why I waited to the last minute. It was either try to get out of state, which right now is absolutely crazy. And there's people, millions of them, I mean millions of people, who face incredible danger on the West Coast. Annette Bosworth is one of them, unfortunately, Dr. Boz. Over there in Tampa, her house was flooded in Helene in the last storm. And I didn't watch the video, but I saw she had posted a video wishing luck to all Floridians, and she is going to more than likely get hit much harder. But so far, the good news for people in Tampa is that the storm is going to pass a little bit to the south of them, which means that the winds will be blowing offshore around the north side of the storm, which will tend to push the water out of Tampa Bay as opposed to driving it into Tampa Bay. We'll see. Good news for one person in a case like this is bad news for their neighbors down the road. So you don't know what to wish for. Just be grateful if the things happen to turn your way, but you just can't lose compassion for what so many, probably millions of people are going to suffer from this. And who would have ever thought 4 or 5 days ago, when this wasn't even a few little clouds down there in the Gulf of Mexico, that it would turn into one of the historical all-time most powerful storms. You honestly, you just never know. So I'm ready. I've spent the entire day today picking up things outside, taking the cushions out of my screen porch, getting that ready to get either get blown away or completely soaked or flooded. I started gathering up some stuff that I want to take to my son's house with me. The last report that I saw made me feel a little better than the one I had seen previously. The one I had seen previously, and who knows if these predictions are anything accurate, but they had a Cat 2 sitting right over my house. And the last thing I saw about 10 minutes before the stream was a Cat 1 sitting over my house. Now, Cat 1 is 85 miles an hour, but that's in the eye wall. So we can withstand that all day long. It's not a problem. These homes are built to withstand those kind of storms. So I'm not worried about losing my home if it stays that way. But if it got up to a Cat 3 over my house, it would be iffy if I wouldn't have enough structural damage or trees falling on top of it to just render it useless, and I'd be out looking for a place to live. So if I come knocking at one of your doors one of these days, don't be surprised. You'll know what happened. Well, it really is good to see you all. And I don't know if I'm going to go a full 2 hours tonight or not. I am very, very tired, but I'm okay. I'm okay. In fact, it was really funny. I got a couple of nice compliments in the comments, both on last night's live stream and my little morning talk. And people told me that they really like that I make them feel so calm. I'm glad to hear that. I try to maintain a positive outlook. And by a positive outlook, I don't mean I'm positive things are going to be screwed. You know, that's not a positive. I try to maintain a positive, but I try to prepare mentally and say to myself, and I always have, what is the worst thing that could possibly happen in this situation? And I try to come to terms with that. Okay, that's the worst that could happen. And I decide I could live with that. I'm not going to start planning how to live with that yet, but I know that I'm capable of living with that if it happens. And that attitude has helped me recover from some real disasters in my life. But it's a matter, I think, of having confidence in your own ability to handle things, to handle situations when they arise. And if you don't have confidence in yourself, you're not going to be as effective as you could be. I used to joke. People used to joke with me about my resilience in business. People that had known me all my life and seen me rich, then poor, then rich, then poor again. And there was a running joke. I don't remember if I came up with it or one of my old friends came up with it, but it went kind of like, Mitch, they could drop you naked with a parachute over some unknown town out there in the middle of the desert. And if they came back in 2 years, you'd own 3 car dealerships, restaurants. I mean, that was what they thought of me. They thought that I had that ability, and it was quite a compliment. Although it was kind of funny when you made that mental picture of me parachuting naked into a desert town somewhere. Let's see who's here. We got Mama Cracker. How you doing? I'm first. Yes, you are. No, really. This was a surprise to see you pop up. Yeah, I waited until after 6 o'clock to actually make the decision to do this. It really doesn't matter. When I just popped up live with no notice whatsoever, I still got on a Monday or Sunday afternoon from a tablet sitting out on my patio, I still got close to 100 viewers. So you guys are on the ball. And Satya's here. How you doing, Satya? Cliff Medina's here. Mike Seeley is in Orlando in a hotel going to wait out the storm. And Mike, I hope you get back home safe. Everything is okay over there. Mark Booth, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Boyd Lamb is here. Nick Sheeson is here. Jan is here. How you doing? And Michael Seeley Sr. is here. Hi, Michael. How you doing from right here in Melbourne? Ground Central. Hopefully that'll change by morning. I hope it passes to the north of us, because the south side of the storm is much drier than the north side. Richard Williams is here. How you doing from Copper Hill, Tennessee? And Rhonda Rhodes, good to see you. Hey, my buddy Randy. Hey, Randy, you're in Nebraska tonight, headed to Portland. Well, I know one thing, you're not going to have a hurricane out there. That's for sure. Good to see you, Randy. Patty, good to see you. What else has Randy got to say? A few weeks ago, I hauled a load of meat from Missouri, is what I think he meant to say, a load of meat from Missouri to Phoenix Mexican food distributor for Paul Saladino. No kidding. That was cool. Was there a load of fruit to go with it? And Jody's here. How you doing? It says, I need to go north. Man, I couldn't get north if I wanted to right now, and I do not want to go out there into the wilds. Not if we're getting a Category 1 hurricane over on the coast where I live. A Category 1 hurricane, compared to the ones I've been through, and I've been through many. I've been in Florida for over 50 years. Category 1 hurricane is some wind and some rain and some lawn chairs blowing around. If that's all we get, I'm going to be fine. And if we get one hell of a lot more than that, this may be, guys, the last live stream you ever see from my studio, from this studio right here, at this desk in my house here in Melbourne. I don't think so. If I thought so, I would disassemble the whole thing tonight and take it with me. But I think it'll be fine. I think I'll be fine. It's just stuff, after all, that can be replaced. Thursday night, obviously, there will be no private community live stream. I doubt I'll even be home by Thursday night yet anyway, so I'll let you know when we're going to do that. May have to put it off a week, but in case you haven't heard, there's a big hurricane going to go through here. Thank you, Jody. Rain Dancer, how you doing, my friend? 1980. Yay, are you home or did you try to go to your son's? No, I'm going to my son's tomorrow. My son is about a 15-minute drive from here. So we're not going to really see the weather until overnight, tomorrow night. Oh, we may see some rain squalls and some feeder bands, but nothing where I can't go from here to there. So I want to kind of minimize the time that I disrupt all their lives. Both of their kids are home from college because of this storm. One of them who goes to college in Georgia, one of them in Orlando. And they're my family and I love them, but I give them great leeway and freedom to live their own lives without having to always worry about their father. I think that's a kind thing to do with your kids, and I don't want to impose any more than I have to. Carnivore Stork, how you doing? Good to see you. And Papa Carnivore, hi, Peter. Peter is here. And Linda Price is here. Not a bad notion. This sun's maybe enough. Last update I saw was an hour ago, swinging south. Yeah, it swung south right over my house. You'll notice the word Melbourne right under the line right before the coast. Yay! And Nick Sheeson is here. How you doing? G, Mark B, Pop Carnivore, Linda G, Pop Carnivore. Boy, you guys talk a lot. Satyas, Linda G, anybody that I haven't had. Mark Whistler's here. How you doing, Mark? Good to see you. And Sandy Blythe is here. Good evening to you. Linda with a Y. Hi, Linda. Asparagus and broccoli are your favorites. Ice cream and blueberries are my favorites. I just don't eat them anymore. Polish Mike is here. How you doing? Polish Mike, good to see you. Hey, boss, he says. CB from Alabama, how you doing? For once, you're not getting a storm up there. Enjoy it. Enjoy watching the turmoil here in Florida. And it is going to be ugly. And you believe me, you're going to see it all over the TV and all over the news. No doubt about that. Jerry Graham, old guy Mitch, stay safe and eat meat. You bet. You bet. Ellen is here. Hey, Ellen, how you doing? The studio is still intact. I will have to take it apart a little bit tonight after the live stream to get the computer ready to take with me in the car, but I don't know what would happen if I somehow lost all these hard drives and this computer. Everything. I've got no fewer than 5 backup copies of everything that's important. I spend a lot of time making sure backups are up to date. Nick Sheeson is here. Hi, Nick. How you doing? Lucy Auerbach. Glad you're safe, sir. Thank you. And believe me, you all know I'm not a religious man, but I appreciate prayers. I do. I do. They're good wishes. And they do some good. They do throw a balance of positive energy. And I have beliefs that some might call mystical and spiritual. I do have beliefs. I don't think you need to be religious. You can be a scientist and understand the science behind why certain wavelengths and frequencies and thought patterns can actually accomplish things and actually can affect outcomes. Maybe the religious people just named those same exact phenomenon prayer. So don't ever feel bad about saying you're praying for me. I'll take all the prayers and good wishes that I can get. Believe me. Believe me. And here we have BWS 2023. How you doing? Mitch Live is the best. I'm glad that you think so. I was going to say my man, but I don't know whether you be a man or a woman, or identify maybe as even something else. See how tolerant I am. That's me. Mr. Tolerant. I'm looking for somebody new. Pretty soon I think I'm going to run out of. Mark C is here. How you doing, Mark? Good to see you. Good to see you, my friend. Jerry Vodstush is here from up in Jacksonville, Ponte Vedra Beach, and I hope you don't get it too bad up there. Shouldn't be too bad. They're looking for some storm surge up that way, so stay safe. Lori Weitzel is here. Hi, Lori. Good to see you. Who else didn't I say hi to? I may miss a few people doing this, but I said hi to Mark, Satya, Mark C., Papa Carnivore, Diane Lee. There's one. How you doing, Diane? Good to see you from Kentucky. And Juan is here. Juan Manuel from Chile. Hi, Juan. Good to see you, man. You're doing well down there. Kathleen says it wobbles like a weeble. Yeah, it's crazy when you see the path of it. I had a strange comment today from somebody who basically thinks we're all crazy. It's not really a hurricane. It can't, because it has zigged and zagged, and hurricanes can't do that. So this must be something else. Can you mentally imagine the theme song from The Twilight Zone? Dum, 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 dum. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what I heard playing in my head when I read that. when I read that particular comment. I didn't know how to answer that. I didn't want to give it a heart. I didn't love it. I thought it was the strangest thing. I basically said, okay. Just replied, no heart. It takes a lot for me not to give a comment a heart. I love the fact that people take the time to just comment, sometimes regardless of what they say. Jerry Graham, old guy Mitch, he says, do you have a generator? C, I do have a generator. What do you do for meal prep for this? I love pickled eggs and jerky in emergency situations. You've got this, take care of. Yes, Jerry, I have a gas generator. I have 2 solar-powered battery generators, 2 big ones, a few small ones for powering small little things or recharging small devices. I don't need to prepare anything because I just eat meat. And I'll be at my son's house. He's the barbecue king of the world. And he's got natural gas cooktop. We'll always be able to cook something over there, and we'll just heat up, cook meat like we normally do. We don't need to make special food. I do have a little portable gas burner stove that I have for if I end up getting stuck in my car trying to evacuate, which is one of the reasons I don't particularly care to get in the car and head out with 8 million other people looking for a hotel room one dark and windy and rainy night. I'd rather almost take my chances hiding under the bed or something like that. But I have a portable butane and propane, it works on either one, cooktop, and all I need is a frying pan. I have a cooler, pretty big cooler. And if I had to evacuate, if I had to head off in my car without knowing a destination or anything, just trying to escape something bad, then I would throw 3 or 4 days worth of bacon, eggs, burger, just basic stuff in there. And I don't need anything fancy. I could go 3-4 days without eating if I had to. It's one of the benefits of being a carnivore. But I'm prepared, and thank you for asking. Thank you for asking. And yes, Kathleen, we are going to be out smoking both cigars and meat. Ellen's chiming in, and anybody else new? Linda Price. I'm continuing to go because I saw there was a super chat down there from BMAT and a little gifted membership from Mark, and I want to get there. It is Mark C. How you doing, man? Gifted 5 memberships to the private community. Hate to disappoint you all this week, but afraid it probably won't happen. Now, don't be surprised if this thing blows over Thursday morning and we're not flooded in over there at my son's house because he lives right on the intercoastal. And if that kicks up, which I think it might, it will flood the road. And we have to wait for it to recede before we can drive out again. If I can get home early enough on Thursday and get my computer back up and, plugged in, which should be bad, yes. And it's not 7 o'clock yet. It may be, you may find it's a last minute thing, but it'll pop up if I can do it. And I'll try to give you guys some warning because I'm going to be talking to you during this adventure. Why not take you along for the ride? For those of you that haven't had the privilege of going through this. And thank you for those private community memberships, Mark. Very nice of you, as usual. Dan N. talking to Papa Carnivore. And Mark Booze says, question, hello, quick question. Mrs. Booze is trying to join the private community. Anyone seeing this, give a guy a hand, can't figure the spot. Obviously, Mrs. Booze has succeeded because I see a notice over here that says, Lisa Booze, welcome to channel support. So thank you, Mark. Thank your lovely wife. We look forward, we've already met her, but we look forward to having her as a member. And that's just great. So Glad to see you figured it out. And as I go down this chat, I will probably come up to that notice and I'll throw it up on the screen. And we have B-Matt. Little super chat. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. What about the wind regarding the storm moving a little south of Tampa? Will that decrease the wind in Tampa? It will not decrease the wind, but it will decrease the storm surge because of the direction that the wind is blowing. The wind around a tropical storm goes counterclockwise. If the storm is to the south of Tampa, counterclockwise will blow out to sea. If the storm passes north of Tampa, counterclockwise comes along the bottom and blows the water right into Tampa Bay. And there was a storm a few years ago that was a tremendously strong storm, and it went south of Tampa and it blew all of the water out of Tampa Bay. It was like looking at Tampa Bay was entirely dry. You could see the bottom everywhere. People were walking miles just on the sand that was the bottom of Tampa Bay because the wind had blown all the water out into the Gulf. It was uncanny. It was something to see. I saw it on TV at the time. It's very interesting. Hey, Ty. Anyway, Matt, thank you so much for that. Always appreciated, my friend. And Tom answered you yes, which was a much more succinct and less complicated answer than I give. But then again, I usually give long answers to short questions. Kathleen is here. Stay safe. Tom, I hope you're going to be doing all right over there in Tampa. Tom, you in a good spot? I hope you are. Jerry Graham, old guy Mitch, my doors are open if Colorado becomes a... I've had offers to go everywhere. I just can't get anywhere. That's the problem. I'd be lucky if I could actually get on the interstate that runs right. You know that wall when you see me walking, I walk along that big wall. That's Interstate 95 right on the other side of that wall. And just to go around the corner and to get on the interstate in this kind of traffic would probably be backed up for an hour. So it's nuts to try to get anywhere. If you've seen any of the pictures, any of the videos on the news about these poor people on the highways, the average speed on I-4, they said was 20 miles an hour, but that's 20 miles an hour. Stop and go and stop and go. Waves of brake lights. The most annoying and tiring kind of driving that there is. And imagine doing that while pictures of your home blowing away are going through your mind. It's got to be a miserable experience. And people do it. People do it. What I said before was there's nowhere to go. If you're trying to escape the wind and the rain, good luck. The only thing that you have to, I think, completely leave your home for, unless you're living in a cardboard shack, is flooding, because you can't survive. You can't survive a 15-foot storm surge. It's devastating. It would be suicide to try to ride that out. You know what they told people in Tampa, in some of these barrier islands, people that refused to evacuate with 15-foot flooding coming? They actually said to them, if you insist on staying, we would ask you to please take a felt tip marker and write your name on your forearm so that we'll be more able to identify your body afterwards. Now, if that isn't a sobering thought, I don't know what is. But it's true. They are finding people in North Carolina. They're continuing to find more and more victims of that massive flooding they had up there. People didn't have the advance notice to leave. But if you've got a waterfront home on a barrier island, look up at the sky and picture something hanging 15 feet over your head, that's going to be where the surface of the water is. You're not going to survive that. What are you going to do? Climb on your roof in 130 mile an hour winds? You get blown off like a piece of paper. I always have a story for everything, but I have a story to tell you. Most of you know that I'm a pilot. I think you know that I'm a pilot. Let me see if I can find a particular picture that I want to find here. If I have it here, I can show it to you handily. But no, it's not there. But I gotta find it. I gotta find it. It'll make the story much better. So let me do this. Let me do this and this. I know this is fascinating for you, but here we go. Okay. Right here. Back in my flying days, at any given time, I used to own a number of airplanes. I would generally have an airplane because I loved to fly. I absolutely just loved to fly. And I had this airplane because I was kind of getting into flying aerobatics. Like they do in air shows, loops and rolls and spins, stuff like that. And this was a single seat biplane. And it had an open cockpit. That's me believe it or not, that is me. Look at that. Can you believe that I was ever that young? Holy cow. With the obligatory Ray-Ban sunglasses. And that was the airplane. It had an open cockpit. And you wore this let's see if I have a, yeah, you wore this cloth hat when you flew it with the David Clark headphones and a parachute. Whenever you flew aerobatics, you had to wear a parachute. Getting into this airplane was like putting on a tight shoe. The airplane had a top speed of about 135 miles an hour. Not the fastest things in the world. But on a number of occasions, just, how kids when they're driving down the road, they'll put their hand out the window and they'll go like this to feel the wind push their arm up and down. We've all done that. Well, in this airplane, I was curious. I wondered what it felt like to stick your hand out into 120 mile an hour wind. Because you keep hearing about these hurricanes with 100, 110, 120. I wonder what that actually feels like. I'd never been in a 100+ mile an hour wind. And I stuck my hand out of that cockpit, out into the wind stream, and damn near tore my arm off. I can't describe to you the force that 100+ mile an hour wind exerted on my arm, but it scared me. It was that violent, and it makes you understand how easily it can blow away a structure. And 120 mile an hour wind doesn't just push twice as hard as a 60 mile an hour wind. It's logarithmic. It carries many, many, many more times the energy, and it can do some damage. And at that point, after I did that little adventurous experiment, I got a great deal of respect for the power of some of these winds, especially big-ass hurricanes and tornadoes. So the next time you actually find yourself in a single cockpit biplane with a cloth helmet, David Clark headphones, parachute strapped to your back, 5-way harness belting you into the seat, flying upside down, The next time you find yourself in that situation, you remember me. You just think about me and me telling you this story. I'm sure everybody can identify with that. I'm sure all of you have had a similar experience. Oh yeah, where was I? This is what happens when I've got basically nothing planned to talk about, just looking to spend a little time with my friends and stop worrying for a few minutes about what's to come. Tom says, I'm staying safe, no worries. Good, Tom, good. And I really hope that I will be able to see you all Thursday night. I really hope. There is a chance. If it plays out like I think it might, we might have some damage. I might have some siding torn off. I may have a damaged screen porch. But if my house is intact and everything inside it is, and somehow we manage to get some power and internet back, I could have a live stream Thursday. What are the odds of that? I think slim. But why not? We'll shoot for it. I could even do it without electricity. I've got all this backup power. You know, you've seen me put that little system together where I could power my entire studio, all my network infrastructure, my modems, routers, everything. With these two EcoFlows I got, I could power this whole mess for the better part of a day. But if I don't have an internet connection from Spectrum to hook it to, I'd be talking to myself. Mark Whistler says, so when, and if you take it on the road, can you call it the Wicked Mitch of the East? Oh, Mark, man, come on, Mark. I think at last count, there's no fewer than 10,000 unemployed comedians in this country right at this moment. I know because I'm one of them. And I'm just going to go down the chat here. Here we got axing for answers. What about Lakeland? Lakeland's going to get slammed, unfortunately. Lakeland is 30 miles from Tampa on I-4, right on the way to Orlando. Right down the heart center of this thing. Whether they're going to get a ton of flooding, probably not. They're not going to get flooding like the people on the coast get, because they basically get the Gulf come to visit them in their living rooms. But they're going to get tons of rain, and that causes flash flooding, causes tributaries and rivers and streams and sewer systems and drainage pipes to all overflow inland, which is what's happening in North Carolina. The water can't get to the rivers to drain out fast enough, so the rivers crest, their banks rise, and everything gets flooded. That's the way it works. It's nothing new. Nothing new. I remember when I was stationed up in Northern Virginia in the late 60s, and they had a storm in southern part of Virginia that flooded the entirety of Richmond. The city of Richmond, the downtown area, was completely underwater up to the windows. So it can happen. It can happen anywhere. Carnivore Stock Mitch is bringing bacon and eggs to me. Yes. Yes, isn't that the food you're supposed to travel with? I even got my cooler down. I got my cooler ready. I got 3 bags of ice in my freezer, which I keep just for this purpose. In case I got to bug out, I can take some cool food with me, and I'm good for a day with a cooler full of ice, at least a day. And in a day, I don't care where I am. I can figure out how to set myself up so I'm good for a much longer time than that. And there is living proof that Lisa has found the private community. Welcome. Welcome, Lisa. Great to have you. Great to have you. Maybe we can find out some real dirt on that husband of yours. Polish Mike, I'm on the northwest side of Chicago. You You get some weather up that way. You get all that chilly, cold wind off the lake up there, don't you? But that would be the northeast side of Chicago, I guess. Susan Roach, so happy you're going to stay with your son during the storm. We love you. Thank you. I love you all too. You know that. You know I'm very fond of you guys. Scooby, Viking, Satya, Scooby. Jody's still hanging in there. Hey, man. Kathleen, we are in a long, severe drought, surrounded by hills, covered in trees with stupid people who like to burn trash and leaves and burn tires. One lane in and one lane out. I think a lot of us live in neighborhoods like that with stupid people. I don't know if they keep burning tires, but what can you do? You can't fix stupid. That's very well known. Wish I was the guy that coined that phrase. Peter Kruger, how you doing from South Africa? Good to see you, man. Long way from home. And Lisa says, my husband has a problem with fiber. Do you have any content on how to introduce fiber with the carnivore diet without eating carbs? No, Lisa. Fiber is not a carnivore food in any form. Fiber is totally unnecessary for the human body. And for those of us that have completely 100% given up all fiber, any fiber, I haven't had not 1 gram of fiber in well over 2 years. For the first time in my life, my digestive system works perfectly normal. It's incredible. I had digestive problems all my life. And what do they tell me to do? You need fiber. Fiber is a necessary nutrient. You need no fiber, no sugar, period, in order to live the healthiest of lives. That's why we're carnivores. So I wouldn't encourage him to eat fiber. I think he'll do better without it. What is fiber? Fiber is undigestible plant material. It's undigestible. It's cellulose. It's wood, it's wood. It's sawdust. It's you put it in your body, you said, why are you putting this in my body? I need to get rid of it as quick as I can. And that's what happens. Out it goes. We don't need it. We have no use for it. Not that I can discern. I don't know everything, but I know that in carnivore, one of the greatest complaints we get against carnivore is we don't get enough fiber. I think we do better with that. And Kathleen is saying hi. We have Bart Simpson here. Head for Oklahoma to avoid the storm. Head for Oklahoma. Get hit by a tornado. It's something. I don't care where you go. It's going to be something. It's going to be something. Viking Scooby's talking. Steve Rogers. Captain America is here. How you doing, Steve? Says hi, Mitch. Good to see you. Oaktown Girl has popped in. Hey, everybody. And we also have Wanda Gerling, Missouri, mid-Missouri, checking in on you. Thank you. Thank you. And Nick Sheeson, what did Nick say? Oaktown, he's saying hi to them. Everybody's saying hi to everybody else. Fair to middling. It's kind of a neat handle. Non-carnivore viewer here, I hope that's okay with everyone. Of course it is. Of course. Of course. Come for the vegetables. Stay for the meat. Scott Iverson, how you doing? Wishing me the best of luck in this storm. Thank you very much. I'll be careful. I try not to take too many chances. I don't think I'll be coming anywhere near close to risking my life, which is the main objective in these things, is come out the other side and then pick up whatever pieces you have to. and life goes on. Love a Rez. Wishing you all the best. Thank you. Thank you so much. Monique, is it Coulius? Finally made a live stream. Praying all be well for all of you down there in Florida. Thank you so much, Monique. Very kind of you. Very kind of you. And we all appreciate that. Mitch, Brady here in Palm Bay. I put up shutters today. Going to get some meat. Perfect, man. Perfect. I don't worry about shutters in my house. I've got these double pane hurricane type windows and very little flying debris around here. I don't think I'll have a broken window. So if I do, I will. Say whatever happens, clean up. I do have homeowners insurance. It might cover something, although you're never sure when you submit these claims. They did. We had an actual tornado come through here a year ago, May. So it's almost a year and a half ago now. A friggin' tornado with hail. Hailstones. I'll dig out a video of it. I actually have a video from my surveillance camera of people's lawn furniture flying down the middle of the street, 20 feet off the ground, going 80 miles an hour. The hailstones perforated the vinyl siding on houses that were facing in that direction, and it came out of the north. I was at home. Nobody expected this. It wasn't forecast. The noise, I never heard anything like the noise in my life of those hailstones. And I had to replace the siding on the whole north side of my house, and it tore up my roof. So I actually did get a new roof out of the insurance company and new siding, and I ended up with a metal roof, which was far superior to the aging shingle roof that I had had before. And in that respect, I actually benefited from that storm. I made a big joke, and this was not made at the expense of my religious friends. It was just a joke. So I know I'm not religious, but I do talk about God. Okay, and we were joking around one day, and somebody says, "Wow, that's a nice roof." I said, "Yeah, it couldn't have come at a better time." I said, my old shingle roof was really getting to the point where it needed to be replaced, and I looked up at the sky and I said, "Hey, God, I need a new roof." God said, "I'll see what I can do." You may or may not think that's funny. I thought that was funny. Boyd has a question. All HDDs or SSDs or NVMe? Yes. How's that? Some of each. Some of each. I have a number of 10 terabyte external hard drives. I have some NVMEs, actually, mounted to the motherboards in the computer for memory, and I have a number of portable SSDs. I have some tiny little crucial 1 terabyte ones. I've got a 4 terabyte. No, that's a hard drive. That's a Western Digital hard drive. I got some of the 3.5 portable hard. I got a ton of storage, and I have backups of backups. It's crazy, but I have so much work in most of the digital stuff that I have created over my career in technology that I want to make sure I don't lose it. Not to mention the collection of music, movies. I have thousands of movies. Tens of thousands, if not 100,000 MP3s that I've accumulated over all the years, going back to the earliest peer-to-peer networks. You didn't hear me say that. But I make sure with the inexpensive storage we have today, it doesn't pay not to have a few of those things that have multiple backups. So I hope that answers your question. Julie Atkins is here. Hiya, Julie. How you doing? Good to see you. I'm just trying to keep up with the chat here tonight. Tom says, storage devices on a computer. HDD equals hard drive, SSD solid state drive. Yes. For those of you non-computer type people. Satya says she loves this community. Nothing like it. It's true, Satya. We are an oddball bunch. Maybe it's good we found each other because we probably don't fit into, at least I know for me, I can speak for myself, we don't fit in too many crowds of other kinds of people. Steve Chase says, be safe, everyone. Prayer works. Glad to hear you're learning as you continue your sober carnivorous life. Yes, sir, Steve. That's me. The Sober Carnivore. What a name for a YouTube channel. Wouldn't that be great? And do you remember Foster Brooks? Any of you remember Foster Brooks? The comedian that always acted like he was drunk? What a great name for a channel for a guy like that, the Sober Carnivore, and he comes out just drunk on his ass. Be funny. I'm always looking for the funny angle. Just another one of those unemployed comedians, I guess. Juan, Mark, Boo, Scooby. If you got any questions for me, throw them in the chat. I'm still looking down the chat that I can put up on the screen here. And so much of it. I keep going. I'm trying to read it all. Boy, Kathleen. Here we go. Lisa, question. Any problems with fiber content? Well, we talked about that, Lisa. Yeah. The philosophy of carnivores is that fiber is unnecessary and in more cases than not actually causes negative effects. It doesn't do any good. Changed my life when I stopped. They used to have me, I was always constipated. They always had me, Metamucil, always eat more fiber. And all that did was make me more and more plugged up. And then take some laxatives. Okay, I'll take some laxatives. So I was living on laxatives and fiber, and the two of them were having World War III down in my intestines. Oh, yeah. Central Florida widespread power outages predicted. You could say that, Gerard. All the power is going to go out in Central Florida. Trust me on that. There will be no power working anywhere in Central Florida, I don't believe, come Thursday around noon. If you could see the army of linemen that have come in from all over the country and are staged now, it looks like something a World War II general would stage before a major battle. You have never seen anything like it. They've been showing pictures of these staging areas for all of these electricians and electrical linemen ready to move as soon as they can start fixing things, because I've been through these storms. Everybody's power goes out. They can restore some of them pretty quick. Some of them go out because the root of a major branch of the grid pops, and they can restore 20,000 people by fixing that one problem. If you're the poor guy, the poor bastard at the end of the line, the poor guy who had a transformer on the pole in front of your house get hit by lightning or blow out, and you are a power failure of one person, good luck to you. You will more than likely, after a storm like this, be out for a week or two before they can get to you, because they have to do the repairs that affect the most number of people first and get down to the onesies at the end. How do I know this? Because it happened to my son at his house. I had my power back on in like 8 hours after a major storm here. I happened to be on the same trunk line that a local hospital is on. It's a priority line. It's one of those deals that these are the ones we get up first when the power goes out. So our power generally comes on pretty quick. He lost the transformer in front of his house. Every one of his neighbors had power except him. Took him a week. And for a week, he ran that whole house on a big noisy generator, which he had to keep putting gas in. It was crazy. But yeah, that's what happens. Unfortunately, that's what happens. I would say the whole center of the state's going to be without power. If you could see it from a satellite, it would look like one of those movies where the lights just start going out until it's completely dark. Kathleen, oh yes, Papa C, yes, they're talking to each other. Intolerance said, I just saw Milton may keep tracking south. I wouldn't be surprised. I kind of hope it doesn't, because I would much rather be on the south side of this thing than the north side. I'd almost much rather it go right over my head as opposed to being on the north side. But believe it or not, that cone still shows you that it could go either way. And as far as they have so many different models that tell them so many different things. It amazes me they get it this close. They missed on Helene by around 70 miles. And they didn't know that until like the last hour or two. It was headed right for Tallahassee, remember? And then all of a sudden it turned right and hit around Perry, Florida, and missed Tallahassee by about 70 miles. So Tallahassee hardly had any damage at all. And that storm was expected to decimate that city. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the other chat now. And going to look for questions because I would be here until next Tuesday. I did want to acknowledge my buddy Randy K with a super chat. Thank you. Good time with Mitch. BOTL. And for those of you who are curious what bottle means, BOTL, it does not mean like drinking. It means brothers of the leaf. Brothers of the leaf. Fellow cigar smoker. That's what BOTL means. See? Learn something new every day here on Old Guy Carnivore. Thank you, Randy. Thank you so much, my friend. Very generous of you. And always appreciated. Stephen Albach's here. How you doing, Stephen? Good to see you, man. And Mark Booz, my bride has been so involved in my life changes. I didn't get the last part of that. Yeah, your typing stopped. I hope you picked it back up again. I'm glad to hear that. That's great. Question. She lost 30 pounds I still didn't catch the end of it. The end of your comments are getting cut off for some reason. I don't know why that is. Question, where are you located in reference to Central Florida? I'm on the East Coast in Melbourne. Melbourne is about 15, 20 miles south of the Space Center. Kind of east of Orlando. Let me go over here to the regular chat that I have and type in QQQ and see what I find. Okay, there's the one where Mark said that Lisa was trying to join the private community. Could that be the only QQQ that's actually in the chat there? Any problems with fiber content? Hoping to see... Oh, Jerry Vodstush says he wants to see Spank, the monkey, tonight. Spanky. Let me see if I can find Spanky here. Hey. How you doing there, little fella? Good to see you. You all remember Spanky? My pet monkey? Hey, Spank, say hi to Jerry. Say hi to Jerry. Don't look over there. Jerry's not over there. No. He's out. Out there you go. There you go. Man, Jerry, wouldn't you have a cow if I told him to wave at you and he went like this? Anyway, for those of you that don't know, when I had my drone channel, Spanky was my sidekick. And I sometimes had Spanky sitting on my shoulder, or I let him sit over here on the floor behind me. That's where he usually sat, there in front of the tree, and he just sat there and behaved himself, looked around. I don't know if anybody ever thought it was a real monkey, but it is a video of a real monkey. And somebody basically took a video of this monkey sitting there, and you see it just jumped. That's where the loop started over. It's about a 1.5-minute loop of him going through his, just sitting there looking all around, and everybody loved him. And I one night I said, we got to give this monkey a name. And sure enough, one of the guys came up and said, name him Spank the Monkey. The consensus of the group of guys we had there that evening was that's a perfect name. So that's how Spanky got his name. Pardon me, ladies, if you would, for that. At any rate, Jerry, anything I can do for you, just ask. Just ask. And let's see what we got here. We got Rain Dancer. How long does it take? How long does it take for all the carb, sugar, poison to get out of your body? Wow. Most of it will get out pretty quick when you stop eating it. Shouldn't really take that long. I can't tell you exactly. I never have known anybody to even talk about how long it takes. Most of it will probably be metabolized up, and if you don't replace it with new sugar, I imagine you probably detox yourself pretty quick. It's a lot of these other things, especially things like oxalates and stuff that plant poisons, that sometimes can take years. And plant sterols. A plant, in case you don't know, a plant sterol is the plant equivalent of cholesterol. See? Sterol. It's the end of the word cholesterol. So a plant sterol is a plant's equivalent of the human cholesterol module, and it's almost identical, but it isn't. I don't know offhand. I've seen the drawings, and if you first look at the molecular drawings, it's like, where's Waldo? You have to look real close to spot where this particular atom happens to be connected over here instead of down over here. But it makes it a little different, and it makes it behave different, and it makes it react differently to a lot of different chemical reactions. But the human body, with so many of these plant molecules, they're close enough to humans that the plant will use them. And our bodies can use these plant sterols to rebuild things like the walls of cells. So over time, when you eat a lot of plants, you start to become part plant. And I've heard as much as 20% of your cell walls can be plant material. And I've also heard, and whether this is true or not, it just makes sense to me, that when these plant sterols are used to rebuild your skin cell walls, it completely affects the way that the sun affects you and your tissues, which is what I've heard said. Again, I've never done any experiments or tests or anything to prove this to myself, but sometimes when you hear something that makes sense, you say, okay, well, that could be. Carnivores, after a while on carnivore, don't sunburn nearly as easily as vegetarians do. Is that because we're not made of plant material? We're actually made of cholesterol, which is the animal version of that molecule? I think that's true, because the skin cells of plants react with light differently than human skin cells do. We create vitamin D. God knows what they create. I'm not a plant biologist. But we are not plants. We're not plants. We're animals. We're built of animal stuff. The basic logic just tells you if you want to repair something, you have to use the same material it was built of in the first place. You don't use liquid cardboard to patch a masonry wall. You use masonry material. And I think that the more that humans have become plant-based in their recommended diets, the screwier they become. And I've heard it that it takes years and years before you finally end up replacing all of those plant sterols with cholesterol again, once you get off of becoming a vegetarian and get back to eating the meat. There's an old saying, you are what you eat. And then one of my clever viewers came in and said something I thought was the cleverest thing that I'd heard in a while. Instead of saying you are what you eat, they said, eat what you are. Doesn't that make sense? Eat what you are. Eat what you're made of. Isn't that what food is for? For two things. It's for the nutritional aspect, the building blocks, and it's for the energy to run the machinery. You want those building blocks to be as similar to the building blocks you're already made of, and we are made of red meat. Sorry, vegans. There's not a vegan on this planet, and that includes the cows, that isn't made of red meat. Yet they hate red meat. And they seem to hate themselves and everybody else. Maybe that's why. They haven't learned to tell the difference yet. Let's see. How long does it take for the carb sugar? I don't think it takes all that long, honestly. And I'm still looking for more questions here. Any problems with fiber content? That was Lori. Jerry, hoping to see Spanky. We did that. How long does it take to rid your diet? Where you're located? Well, I'm going round and round here, so I don't see too many more questions. Let me go down to the bottom of the chat and kind of keep up with where you guys are now. Sorry, I'm not being a lot more entertaining tonight, but it's 9:15. I may cut this around 9:30. Since I did the one last night, I got a lot on my mind. But I really do appreciate it. We had a nice crowd tonight. We were up to 180 some people. Down to 157. That's still a nice crowd. Much better than my normal Tuesday night crowd. So thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. Oh, I see Last Frontier is here again. How you doing, sweetie? Talking to Papa Carnivore. She doesn't trust doctors anymore. I was a nurse in the operating room for years, and it was atrocious. Oh, man. I'll bet. I was a patient in the operating room a few times, and that was atrocious enough for me. I can't imagine spending every day, all day in there. Last Frontier. Ah, so you've made a lot of friends in here already. Good, good. Glad to hear that. Everybody's trying to help you figure out why Carnivore's not working for you. Well, hang in there. I told you, we have a community here. These people will bend over backwards to try to help you figure that out. Yes, I've been putting off getting blood work done. My doctor is crazy. Time for a new doctor. Most of us stay away from doctors if we can. I can't, honest to God, I can embarrass my doctor if I really wanted to. All I do is ask her questions I know she doesn't know the answer to. Like most anything to do with cellular biology, but, you know, they do serve a purpose. So you guys are really doing the diagnostic thing on Last Frontier. Good for you. Good for you guys. Hey, Bill, Coast to Coast Drones. Because they knew I was stopping by. How you doing, my friend? Good for you. Good for you. Good to see you, man. I stop into your place once in a while. In fact, I visit you almost every Wednesday night. I don't always chime in the chat, but I'm keeping an eye on you. I have to keep an eye on you, Bill. Keep you out of trouble. Bill is a great guy back from my old drone community days, and he does a live stream every Wednesday night, and he calls it Drone Therapy. And it's great. They have a panel of people and talk about things happening in the drone industry. It's nice, and sometimes when I watch, I'll say hello in the chat. Mama Cracker, Patty says, Mitch, are you going to be able to sleep tonight? Yeah, I pretty well come to terms with all of this and any of the different ways that it can go. I am going to keep an eye on it. And if I have to make any slight changes to how I'm going to deal with it, that's fine. But one thing for certain, Thursday afternoon will come. This storm will be moving away offshore. And they're saying that late Thursday afternoon, we can expect winds, maximum winds here in Melbourne of 23 miles an hour. And it seems like for most of the storm, even if it goes right over the top of us, it seems, they talk about maximum gusts of 100 miles an hour, maximum gusts of 90 miles an hour. Well, that's a maximum, and that's rarely, and that's sparsely. Sustained winds are another story. And they're talking about sustained winds, you know, in the 60, 65 mile an hour range. And I've been through that many times. Yes, it howls like crazy. The trees blow around like crazy, but the houses don't blow away. So we'll see what happens. And the most important thing for me is the actual eye of the storm going to pass to the south of me or the north? Because if it's going to pass to the north, I am likely to maybe get twice as much rain as I would have if it had passed to the south. Because down under the bottom of the storm is where it's, God, I always do the weatherman thing, is where it's sucking dry air down from that cold front that's pushing this storm, capping this storm off. Pulls that dry air down and under the bottom and starts to wind it in. So under the bottom of that storm, the southern side of that storm, that cool air, the dry air, is keeping the rain to a minimum to a great extent compared to the warm, moist air that's being sucked in across the top to feed the actual storm itself. And in those moist feeder bands is where you have all the tornado activity, all the thunderstorms, all, twice as much rain. And I looked at the canal behind my house today. It's still way down. It's a good 5 feet below the berm. So I think even though this community had flooded in the past, they did a lot of work on the drainage. When they built an interstate entrance about less than a mile down the road from my house. And when they built that overpass, they also completely redid all the sewage and the drainage for this whole area, the whole of West Melbourne. And looking at the canal, my canal that runs right behind my house where I have that line of trees, there's a canal back there. It runs south until it hits the drainage that they put in for that big overpass, and it goes under the interstate and off into the St. Johns River Basin. And it's doing a fabulous job because even with the rain we've had here the last 2 or 3 days, the level of that canal has not come up, not much at all. So I think we're plenty good for drainage capacity where I am, and hopefully we won't get a foot of rain. But I think even now, even though the ground might get quite soggy and puddly, we probably wouldn't have water coming up to the level of the houses. So we'll see. We'll see. Just wish me luck, I suppose. I'm down to the bottom of the chat. CB Carmack. See, hi, CB. Meds gone and health benefits, the most important for me. Type 2 diabetes, reversed high BP gone, acid reflux gone. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Mark is telling Last Frontier the fat is where it's at. Yeah, there are certain common mistakes that people make when they go on carnivore. They tend to want to eat too much protein, eat lean protein, and still shy away from fat. When the opposite is true. You should go for as much fat as you can get into you. And keep your protein moderate. Eat no carbohydrates. That's carnivore. When you start adding any carbohydrates or fiber, you're not carnivore anymore. You're what they call ketovore, which is a construct. It's just the difference between a keto diet and a ketovore diet and a carnivore diet is basically a handful of Brussels sprouts. That's the difference between 0 carbs, 10 grams of carbs, and 20 grams of carbs. And I've always thought now, after I've been a carnivore for a while, and I finally managed to get rid of my addictions by not trying to hang on to those carbs for dear life, for fear of not having the soul-satisfying, comforting, addictive carbohydrates, even if I had to fool my body into thinking I was getting those fabulous treats, but using a lot of chemicals and artificial sweeteners and things. I never lost my addiction. But when you stop to really look at it or analyze it, how many grams is 20 grams of carbs? It's nothing. So a keto diet is basically a carnivore diet with, if you do it right, a handful of green vegetables or half a cup of blueberries. But what carb addict do you know that can eat only half a cup of blueberries? What carb addict do you know that can eat one cookie and walk away without starting to crave more? And that's why I learned for myself after all those years that if you're a carb addict, keto doesn't work for you. You're always trying to game it. You're always, and that's why there are so many popular videos out there that teach you how to make all those sweet treats with all those artificial and low carb ingredients. Those are very destructive for you because they feed your addiction, like drinking non-alcoholic beer. It may taste something like beer, but there's something missing. It's just not doing it for you. And you're not going to put up with that for long. You're going to be back into the regular stuff. You need the carbs. Your brain wants the sugar. It's not getting it. This other crap, it can't turn that in, it can't burn that for energy in your body, and that's what it needs because it's not a fat burner yet. So I guess you call me hardcore when it comes to carnivore, but not hardcore when it comes to things like coffee or stuff that doesn't give me cravings, stuff that's not carbohydrates. I don't care what you want to eat. It doesn't have to be red meat. It can be any kind of animal product or any kind of food if it has 0 carbs and 0 fiber. There aren't too many things like that unless you want to munch on celery all day, and celery's got its own slate of poisons that come with it. We have somebody named George here. We were out of power in New Jersey during Sandy, and it wasn't even a real hurricane. It really sucked. And it was cold to boot, but I had natural gas at least. Stove on, not safe. Yeah. Doesn't take much to kill the power a lot of times in these storms, especially down here in Florida. The wind comes along. They got so many telephone poles. Down goes a pole, cuts a line. 5,000 people lose power. Nate Dogg is here. Hello, Mitch and Chad, he says. How you doing? Let me get down to the bottom of this other chat. I can actually put these on the screen. I know I'm skipping a lot. I think I found all the questions. Last Frontier doesn't understand carb addiction. Well, you've come to the right place. I have God knows how many videos. On my channel, I have over 450 videos now. And many, many, many of them talk about carbohydrate addiction. And that's the key to being successful on changing your lifestyle, not just being on a diet. And if you're a carbohydrate addict, which means you can't stop. You can't stop. You crave these things. You may not even realize, but you can't pass them up. So I have a test. You can Google it. You can look for old guy carnivore. How do I know if I'm a carb addict or something like that? You'll find it. Carb addiction after my name. You'll find it. And it's a test, and it asks some questions. And just about everybody that takes that test came back to me and said, yep, I'm a flaming carb addict. And how do I know that that's true? Because over 80% of the human beings in the United States of America are flaming carb addicts and getting worse because the big food companies have scientists that just keep making this food more and more irresistible, more and more addictive. So we can't stop eating them. Like the Lay's commercial says, you can't eat just one. That was an in-your-face statement in that commercial. We own you now, which is what the cigarette companies, what drug dealers, what everybody else does. Get them addicted to your product. They can't live without it. People cannot live without that stuff. And the evidence, the fact that they can't live without it is that 80% of every supermarket, Sam's Club, Costco, convenience store, 7-Eleven, and even shelves in office supply stores are filled with sugary treats, crackers, pretzels, chips, cakes, pies, with no nutrition, but addictive as hell. So learn as much as you can about carbohydrate addiction and see if you're not one. And that might explain why no matter how much you want to, you can't stop eating that stuff. And that's where most people live. I want to lose weight. I want to go on a diet. I go to the gym. I work out. I watch what I eat. I eat low calorie. I don't eat any fat. I do all this stuff. I do everything they say, and I can't lose weight, and I'm becoming a diabetic. You're a carb addict. The only way to cure carb addiction that I've ever found is to stop eating carbs. Just like if you're an alcoholic, you have to stop drinking. You can't just have a little bit every day. No. If you're a drug addict, if you snort cocaine, you have to stop it completely. You can't just limit yourself to 2 snorts a day, because that'll lead to 3, 4, and you're back where you started. Sugar is the most addictive substance that the human body has ever experienced. There's so many reasons why, and I talk about, half of what I talk about is about carb addiction, to try to convince people that that is really where their problem lies. Because even though they say they're doing carnivore and they think they're doing carnivore, they're cheating themselves when their friend says, I make these cookies, just have one, it won't hurt you. Oh, okay, just one. Well, you've completely sabotaged. You fed your addiction. You never put that beast to sleep. And you never lose any weight. And eventually, inevitably, people say, well, I tried that carnivore thing and it didn't work. So I guess I'll just go back to Dunkin' Donuts, get myself a dozen so I can feel good. And I've explained many times the actual physiology that's going on that allows your subconscious mind to give your thinking, rational, conscious mind any excuse it needs. And you've heard them all in the course of your life. You've heard all the excuses. Well, just this one, and you make them to yourself, and they sound believable. And you say, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll start again on Monday. This is the last time. That's it. Going on a diet on Monday. This is definitely the last time I'm going to do this. Just one more gallon of ice cream. Okay, then. I'm a strong person. I can do this. But you never do. It's because the addiction owns you. It owns you. It owned me for 75 years until 2 years ago I figured out how to fix that addiction. And I did. And a lot of these people that you see here in the chat, we've been on this journey together for the last 2 years. And we're carnivores now. And we don't eat any of that stuff. Zero. Well, sometimes some of us dabble a little bit, but always regret it. And that just reinforces how right it is that we don't need sugar. We don't need fiber. We live our best, most healthy life eating like our caveman ancestors ate, with no 7-Elevens, no Doritos, no sugary soft drinks, nothing but Mastodon, salt and water. We have bacon and eggs now. We have chicken and fish and pork and ribs and all kinds of other neat, tasty things to eat. They're still animal products. So learn about addiction. I think it'll really help you out. And you're not alone if you're not familiar with what carbohydrate addiction is, because it's the best kept secret on the planet. The big food companies and drug companies don't want you to think about your diabetes and other things as the results of being an addict. They want you to think about it as a disease that's incurable and only they have the cure, which they want you to pay for the rest of your life. There's an awful lot to this, not just to the diet, but what's behind what caused this mess we're in the first place right now. You've all heard me say that before, many, many, many times, and I keep having to say it again. And Last Frontier has just chimed in. Gotta go. Thank you for the input. You're welcome. See you again. Papa Carnivore, that sounds great. Well, you guys are happily chatting away. Let me get a little something to drink here. I'm mighty thirsty there. I even have a sip of coffee left. Ice cold. Okay. Now you're talking about fat percentages. Boyd Lamb, a little overwhelmed, I think, but don't be a stranger. Mitch won't Bible thump at you. That's the last thing you'll ever hear me do. I'm a passionate guy. Those of you that follow me know that I do have certain convictions, and I stick to it. Barb Stokes says, hey, old guy carnivore, where is that? Here it is. I hope you stay safe over there. I'm hoping to be in your hood after the storm at my friend's place east of you survives. Flying in on Saturday. Cool, Barb. Enjoy yourself. We should be all right over here. If I was sitting over on the West Coast, it'd be a whole different kind of worry. I've been there before. I've had them, we've had them over here coming straight in, which is the way they usually do at us on the East Coast. They usually come in off the coast of Africa, all along the Caribbean islands, make a right hook and make a beeline for the coast somewhere. Somewhere in Florida, somewhere in Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. That's to have them actually form like this in the Gulf. Form. This is basically a Pacific storm. It's coming to us from that direction. And it's odd. And we've had two of them now. Other than that, I don't think there's any significance to be made from that. And nobody to blame. It just happens. Weather happens. And guys are still talking. You don't even need me, I'm telling you. I feel like a bar owner. I open the doors, everybody comes in, and I just go about my business. It's cool. I like that. We have somebody here named George. Yes, they definitely hate themselves. Hi, George. Haven't seen you in here. Or I haven't noticed you. I'm sure you've been in here. It sounds like you're part of... Sherry Morgan is here. Hi, Sherry. Good to see you. My doctor wants me at least 100 protein to 400 fat. It's very hard to get 400. Yeah, it's a lot of fat. You have to conscientiously eat that kind of fat. Now, eggs by weight are 50-50 fat. So eggs are a good source of fat, healthy fat. Fatty meat like brisket or pork shoulder, that kind of thing. Those are great. Ground beef is nice because you can blend it however you want. You want 80%, and again, when you're talking about it this way, it's by calories. You want 80% fat, 20% protein. You want 70%. Lean. Excuse me. You want 80% lean, 20% fat. Barb Stokes. Friend and I are supposed to cruise out of Miami on Sunday. We are tossing our days on how we are going to get there if the ship sails. You'd probably be, I would imagine by Sunday you'll be okay. I don't know how you're going to get there. Drive? They do have a train. Bright Line. Runs right down the coast. Might want to, your friend should know how to get to Miami. Here's a question from Tom. Tom Keelan, Mitch, what do you use for toothpaste? For these pearly whites, my old pearly whites here, I use the baking, that Arm & Hammer baking soda toothpaste. They have one that I went looking for the least sweet one I could find. I try to avoid anything that has a sweet taste. It's one of the ways that I kicked my carb addiction was don't eat sweet things because that's a trigger. And this one isn't bad. It has a slight peppermint flavor. For a long time there, I was just brushing my teeth with a stiff, I was using a Sonicare brush and just water because I didn't want any sweet taste in my mouth. But I finally decided, I got to have some toothpaste to polish them up a little bit. And so I found this Arm & Hammer baking soda. It has a slight sweet taste, but no sugar or anything in it. And that's what I use. And then after I finish brushing them real good, I use a water pick and blast down there, blast my gums with it. And between Carnivore and the water pick and my toothbrush, my oral health is very good. I try not to kill off my oral biome. And I use no mouthwash whatsoever, no antiseptic, anything. I don't use any hand sanitizer. I don't use any antiseptic soap. I'm a believer that the bacteria that live in, on, and around our body are there, do so and for a beneficial reason. One of the reasons that a lot of carnivores don't have body odor is because they don't wash off the bacteria that actually do away with that. Shari, thank you. Very nice of you, thanks. Super grateful for you, Mitch. Thank you for being a great bar owner. We all needed you to keep us in line. You're a sweetheart, Shari. Thanks so much. I really appreciate that. I really do. Then you came back and said, what are your thoughts on red light panels and blue blockers? I haven't given that much thought. Honestly, there's so many different things to consider, and everybody's got so many different angles with the red light panels. The blue blockers, I never seem to have any problem getting to sleep. They say, hour before you go to bed, don't let that blue light in your eyes. Take your cell phone, and they have a night mode, which warms up the colors of the screen and all that. It's supposed to help. I haven't noticed any difference. I do get out in the morning sun with no sunglasses and let the ultraviolet into my eyes. I do believe that we are supposed to get natural sunlight in our eyes. If we were supposed to have sunglasses, we would be born with them. Or would we be born with a film, an ultraviolet film over the top of our eyeball. I believe we need that. So I don't subscribe to that. As far as the blue blockers, I can understand why it wasn't something that our cavemen ancestors came upon, unless you consider certain moonlit nights with that bluish white moon as blue light. But blue light after dark was not something. And I'm sure somebody's done studies and tests and measured brain waves and things while exposing people to blue light and probably sees some benefit. And I think if people want to experiment with it, it's not going to be an expensive experiment to try and see if you see any results. And if you see some results, then there's something to it for you. If you don't see, I tried avoiding the blue light and I didn't see any difference. I can watch TV. I fall asleep to the TV every night. I turn it off before I actually go to sleep, but when I find that I'm nodding off, I turn the TV off. I can watch it. It doesn't keep me awake. Is it doing any damage? Maybe. Who knows? Now, the red light panels, Ellen is the person for you to ask on that. She sent me a whole article about red light and mitochondria. And she sent them to me, I think it was it today? Yeah, I think, Ellen, today or yesterday, right while I'm in the middle of trying to figure out what I'm going to do in this storm. And I've been getting a barrage of people emailing me things. Mitch, you need to read this. Mitch, you need to read that. You find this interesting. You find that interesting. And I love that stuff. And but I don't have time right now. And I didn't want the interruptions over these couple of days. So I haven't really read any of that stuff. I've just kind of filed it away, and I will. There very well may be tremendous validity to some of that red light stuff. But as with anything else that has validity, some scam artist is going to come along and come up with some phony version of it, make infomercials, hire big-time influencers on YouTube to spout the benefits of it, and it'll become the next miracle. Everybody will make a fortune because it'll be expensive. You know what they're attacking now? I've just seen presented to me a lot of anti-AG1 videos. For those of you that don't know, because I was not really familiar with AG1. AG1 is that athletic greens supplement. You heard of that? Athletic greens. Sells for $100 a little bag. Andrew Huberman was pitching that stuff. There are YouTube influencers out there making $1 million a month. Fitness guys, ones with millions of subscribers, selling this athletic green shit. And these people are just tearing that stuff apart as the biggest fraud that ever happened. And I was shocked because I had a lot of respect for Huberman. I mean, he's one of the guys that's discovering all the red and blue light stuff, for God's sakes. He's the guy that talks about the grounding and when not to have caffeine. I mean, he's got the hot and cold plunges, and he's got something to keep you busy for everything. You follow that guy, you have a schedule that starts at 4 in the morning and ends at 3 the following morning. And he's advertising these athletic greens. I don't know. Just when you think the world has reached peak corruption, peak stupidity, boom. It really is all about the money, folks. It really is. So that are my long answer again, Sherry. Those are my thoughts on the blue blockers and the red. No conclusions, just thoughts. It's interesting, though. It's interesting. so are 1.5 million other things interesting. And all of that interesting stuff is just so time consuming. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. I'm going to try to do a video tomorrow morning, unless all hell is already broken loose out ahead of the storm. It should still be all right first thing in the morning. So I'm hoping that I can, because I usually do those things early, before I tear my computer system down to take some of it with me, I'll be able to shoot one of those, shoot a quick one, talk about what's happening and what's happened since tonight with the storm and if it's affected my decisions or not, and get that out at least. And then I will be packing up stuff and heading over to the kids' house. I almost went 2 hours. I didn't mean to, but I did. And I thank all of you for coming. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we'll all get through this. If you're in Florida again, use your head. Your stuff is not as important as your life. I know it's tough. I have stuff too that I've been carting with me my whole life. Stuff is important. And the tendency is to want to protect that stuff. It's not worth risking your life for. If all you risk is some being uncomfortable a little bit, maybe, that's okay. But don't find yourself in a position you can't get out of. And there's going to be a lot of that over the next day or two, over most of the state of Florida. And it is scary. It is scary. So I wish you all the best. There are many, many, many of you that are definitely in for a lot worse than I'm in for. And I'll see all of you on the other side. And Sherry says she really appreciates me. Thank you, Sherry. The feeling is absolutely mutual. The feeling is mutual. So, Mark, just a little south of me, you be safe. Everybody's saying good night. I will take care. Thank you so much. I'll exit on a little blues immediately. Sit down and catch up on the latest weather. Wait for the 11 o'clock report. Hit the sack after that. So, I can't say when I'm going to see you, but I will see you. So, I'll just say goodnight. Take the rest of the day off. And as they say, I'll see you when I see you. But keep eating meat, okay?